Hello everyone and welcome to your Module 1 webinar. This is your second of 4 webinars for Master Colour Expert. Today we're going to be discussing how best to approach Module 1. We're going to dive a little deeper into the assessments, and we're also going to talk about your accreditation calls and the feedback that you'll be receiving. I will quickly reintroduce myself. My name is Ida and I am the Programme Manager at Master Colour Expert. I know you guys have been commenting already where you're connecting from. I can see Jessica, Rudy, Christina, Tina, Louise. We've got people connecting from London, Florida, Somerset. I am going to ask Chris to reintroduce himself, and we've also got another special guest today.
Hello everybody, my name is Chris and I'm the Global Education Design Manager for Weller Professionals.
I forgot who I was then. I'm Eddie, I'm Global Capability Manager for Weller Professionals.
Fab. We've got people connecting from California, North Carolina, Las Vegas, Hertfordshire, New York City, Leamington Spa, Austin. We've got people connecting from everywhere. Guys, a quick reminder, we are going to cover a lot in this Module 1 webinar, and you're going to have tons of questions, and we've got a Q&A as usual at the end of the webinar. But in the meantime, write all your comments in the section on the right where you introduce yourself, and at the end we'll go through as many as we possibly can. I'm going to get us started because, like I said, we've got a lot to cover today. We are firstly going to talk about how best to approach Module 1. Now, I know last Monday you would have logged onto the classroom, and it's possible that you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. There's a lot of content in there. But in order to overcome any anxiety, what you need to do is you need to take control of the situation. And of course, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. But what I do want to say is that you're 130 participants who are completely different. And there's going to be some tips that we say today that might resonate, some might not, but just pick the tips that work best for you. Having said that, Chris and Eddie, talk to me about what what your tips are for working through this first module.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Ida. I think everybody is going to work in a different way. For me, what I tend to do is I like to kind of go through everything and really look at what is really in front of me. And then work back from that and break it down. So really familiarise yourself with all the content that's in the module and then what's expected of you to complete. And then work back and think, okay, well, this is my deadline. How can I make sure that I meet that? So plan your weeks, look at what you've got in your calendar, look at what's going on in your personal life as well, and then think, okay, so I need to get this done by then, so I need to do it back from them. That's how I would approach the module, but it's different for everybody.
That's really true. Different people learn in different ways. Excuse me. And I think it's important to kind of know who you are and know how you learn. So I know I learn very well from videos, and then I have to do something myself before it actually gets into my head. So if that's you, that's fine. Maybe read something and then do something at the same time. Make it work for you and how you learn. Especially us hairdressers, we like to get hands-on. I suppose my biggest thing is I'm capability. That's my job. It's my job to teach other people how to do things. And I think the best way of learning is teaching. I think when I have to know something and pass it on, you have to know a little bit more than you usually do. And you have to be able to answer your own questions very fast, as well as answering other people's questions. You know, it's the job of a trainer. And when you put yourself into a trainer job, you really do kind of wow yourself with what you actually know and what you learned.
Absolutely. I think one important thing is the tips that Chris and Eddie have given are great, and they're going to be really important as you move through. But one really key thing, and I know we've said this, and we said this in the Prepare for Your Journey Ahead webinar, but you need to give yourself time. And time management plays such a big role in completing work, obviously, to deadline and completing it well. It is, again, personal to you and how you prefer to get things done. So, for example, if you're a person who makes lots of to-do lists, but somehow you never seem to get everything on your to-do list done, I would recommend you try something called the Ivy Lee method. It sounds very academic, but it is easy. It's a 4-step principle, and what you do is you would begin the night before and you write a list of 6 things that you need to accomplish the next day. So that could be anything from finding a model to making sure that you study a certain section of the classroom. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at those 6 things and you're going to prioritize them in order of importance. Then when you wake up the next day, you're going to focus on priority number 1. And what you do, which is the key thing, is you don't move it on to the next priority or the second thing on your list till you finish the first one. And you do that all through your day and you get through all 6. And then in the evening, first of all, you know that you've accomplished everything on your list because you couldn't move on otherwise. And then you can make a new list for the next day. It's really easy. If you're that type of person, it's something we could recommend. Chris, what about if you're the type of person who, let's say, doesn't really have time to study, you're time poor and you just do it when you can?
Yeah, it's, I think that's something that happens quite a lot in my job as well. Like, you think you have everything kind of mapped out and then something comes up and you're like, oh, I didn't expect this to arise. And so suddenly the time that you thought you had has kind of moved or changed. But I think try and think about the things that you can control and the things that are completely non-negotiable. So if you have to pick your children up at a certain time, or you have to work a shift, or you need to be somewhere to do something for your mum or something like that, then try and think, okay, that cannot move. Then you work back from that again and think, right, so I have this 1 hour, I'm going to book the time in to do my, watch these videos, or I'm going to use that time to find a model. And then that piece of time then becomes also non-movable in your diary. So if something else does come up, you're like, okay, fair enough, this also is a priority, but these things are already in my diary and they're non-movable, and then you work back from that.
I'm getting some life experience here.
Absolutely. And Eddie, what type of person are you?
So I'm a get it done kind of person, and it's fruitful. You get stuff done, but sometimes I came in. We're in my apartment tonight. I came into Chris today, and he's like, "How was your day?" And I said, "I was like, it was really, really busy, but I've no idea what I did."
Yeah.
And sometimes you can be so busy and you're doing so much that you don't always feel like you're achieving something. Like, you're not working towards a specific goal. You're kind of ticking boxes just to tick boxes, but it doesn't. It's not always the most fruitful. So I know I have to work on that, but again, everyone is different. But it's about knowing, I suppose, where you need to work.
Eddie's really funny because he does actually get loads done. I sit opposite him at work, and his head is constantly down and he's constantly typing away. And I'm a nightmare to sit opposite because I'm like, do you want to go for lunch? And he's like, no, I've got to get this done. So yeah, when you feel like you're just doing a lot, but you don't really know what you've achieved, is sometimes quite difficult.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's such strong advice from both of you, and an important thing that's come up in this is reflection is such an important part of Muscular Expert. Of course, you're required to do the work, but if you can and your schedule permits, do take the time to sit back and reflect on, first of all, what you've learned, what you've achieved, and what you can do to develop further, because this is a development journey, and it's up to you to make the most out of it. Of course, there is a lot more information that we can give you on time management and how to help you kind of get through all the content that is available to you. And if you feel that you need some extra help, I've said it a million times, but I'll say it again, just contact us, supportamaster.com, and we can help you further. I won't go into too much detail anymore about the other tips and tricks that we have, because I know that you're all itching to talk about your assessments. We're going to talk about how to approach them, of course, and we will go into detail about each one. I'm going to quickly talk about the online test and take you through the most effective way to tackle it. There are 2 key points really that you need to know, and nothing more than that. The first one is you need to revise the module content, of course, but you also need to revise the WELA standards and the product information in the Prepare for Your Journey Ahead module. I'm going to say that again. You're going to revise the module content in Module 1, and you're also going to revise the WELA standards and the product information in the Prepare for Your Journey Ahead module. Make sure you make notes on both of this. Then, when you're ready to actually take the test, it's a pretty seamless experience. What you really need to do is make sure that you're reading the questions and you're reading them slowly and carefully, and you're ensuring that you've answered them correctly. It's multiple choice, and if a question asks you for 4 answers, give 4 answers. Don't trip yourself up on something small that could mean you would be resitting the online test. I know, scary, but could happen. So make sure you take the time to read through everything slowly. Now, the 2 big ones. Eddie, talk to us about how you would approach the model assessment.
So the first and most important thing about the model assessment is read the brief. Then the second most important thing is read the brief. Don't assume anything. The briefs are written very, very cleverly, guys, and they're actually designed as a level of support, not to trick you out. So the brief is formatted in almost like what a client journey would look like, and everything that you're assessed on and everything that your accreditor needs to know is in the brief. So if it's asked you a question, make sure when you submit your results, you're answering that question and you're answering the information that it's asked. That is the most important thing. Your brief is key. If you're not sure of something, ask the questions. Like I just said, support at Mastered is there. Ida is there to answer a lot of your questions. The hairdresser questions is actually me that answers. So sorry to those who maybe I've, not given the clearest answer to. But, if you're unsure of something, answer the question. It's either Ida or myself that's going to answer. Mm-hmm. Get comfortable with taking pictures and videos. Practice it as much as you can. But when it comes to taking your pictures and videos, keep it simple, keep it clear. Look at your before, your during, and after. Show us what we need to see. My best advice, and something that I don't do, I should actually practice more, is just take the pictures that you need and the footage that you need. Sometimes I video so much that I'm like, I can edit it down later, and I just give myself loads of work that I don't have time to do, or it kind of takes the fun out of it. Take actionable videos and actionable pictures. You're going to see a little sneak preview in a couple of minutes of what a good picture would look like. So we're going to show you guys a lot as well. When it comes to your write-up, use your brief as a guide of what to write about. Keep it simple, but give as much information as possible. Don't assume anybody knows what's going on in your head. If you want to say, I step forward with my right foot and then I use my left foot, say it, but do it in bullet points. Keep it simple, keep it easy to read for your assessor, that they can go on the client journey with you from start to end. Give as much information as possible, but in a clear way.
Absolutely.
I've got a couple of tips as well, which I've just thought of. So another part of my job, as well as Master Colour Expert, is I look after all the trend collections. And when we're putting together the overview of what we're going to capture when we're on set, we really work out what it is we're going to need to photograph and what steps we're going to take. And document for when we do things like our create book or our videos and things like that. So really, before you approach anything, just the first picture will be of me putting the highlights in or mixing up, or the second picture will then be me removing the color. Detail it all, so you know that when you've got your model or you've got your headlock in front of you, you know exactly what it is that you need to capture and when you're going to capture it, and then you can just go through and tick it off the list. So yeah, cool, I've got a picture of that. The other thing is I tend to need to do everything with a pen in my hand. So I would print off the brief and then I would go through and circle, okay, they're looking for this. Okay, they're looking for this.
Mm-hmm.
So that when it comes to when I'm actually doing the model or doing hair, then I can be like, yeah, tick, I've got that. So I'm definitely a list kind of person. I need to have it all there in front of me. So they might work for you, they might not. It works for me.
Absolutely, that's some great insight, guys. I have prepared our participant project on the screen for us to talk through one of the model assessment submissions in a bit more detail.
The normal one. Where you had it earlier.
Oh, this one. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was like, why won't you open it for me?
I was like,
sorry, guys. Chris has been a bit of a princess right now.
No, I will not.
So, as Eda shows, I have it on a different screen here. So, we wanted to show you guys an example of, what a good project would look like and what way to maybe format what you look like, what your submission looks like, because it can be scary. You're uploading videos, you're uploading pictures, you're typing or you're writing. So what you can see on screen now, this participant started off with consultation and really followed your typical client journey, which makes it a really, really good project. So you can see the amount of information that he's given over here. Everything that's mentioned in the brief he's put in here, things like skin tone, eye color, as well as, natural depth, previous history, face shape. So he covers both technical analysis and holistic analysis. If anything, one critique I would give here is I'd probably bundle them together a bit more so that they're a little bit more separate. As we scroll down, then it goes down into application and it kicks off with color. Before that, what I love here is they've added negative feedback that the client had about themselves and positive feedback that the client had about themselves. So where the client saw their hair and where, what they thought was good, what they thought was bad, what they liked, what they disliked, which is really important. Then they had a nice simple breakdown of the colour formula and what they chose to work with. As you can see, we were clever and blocked it out today. And then it started to introduce some videos. So it breaks down before, a video of the client, some before pictures, very, very clear, very, very crisp. If you have a ring light, amazing. If you don't have a big ring light or you can't afford a big ring light, you can get some amazing little ones now that are really good. Just to show really clear, sharp pictures of the hair from different angles. We've got a little consultation tool here showing some strand testing, and then a really cool mood board that gives you kind of a clear vision of where this person wants to go. You can use anything like Pinterest or Piccollage, or you might find a pre-done mood board online, something that represents where you want to go with that client. Then it goes down into technique and shows us, pictures of the application when it's done, what it looked like when it was developing. We can see very, very clean, very, very neat foils, clean application here, visible placement, a little video of application you can see here as well as we scroll down through. And then we get to results. And I'm sure you guys will agree the result is beautiful here. The polish, the finish, the shine, and in particular the dimension in the hair here is beautiful. We really feel like they've nailed it here with the concept, introducing pieces, placement, glossing, toning, to really kind of beautify white hair and celebrate white hair, not trying to, heavily color hair or take away from what a person might be proud of. The result is absolutely beautiful.
It also looks like this is going to have a really low maintenance upkeep for the person. So for models who, for customers or people who don't necessarily, they still want to keep their white hair, and as it grows out, they don't want anything that's going to cause high maintenance or anything like that. It looks like it's going to be really easy for her to deal with long term.
Exactly, it's not like a 6-week regrowth.
Yeah.
Then as we work down, we work into placement. So the person here has done some illustrations, not only show the picture. Don't worry if you don't have the technical skill to do this, because I wouldn't. But clear pictures and images of mapping, hedge, sectioning, and what the placement would look like, and then a breakdown of approach. Again, if I were to give one critique here, it's quite wordy. However, it's broken down lovely into paragraphs. It's easy to read. It brings you on a client journey. So he starts to describe what he does, how he approaches everything, and what the outcome should be, or what his predicted outcome will be, and then talks about product and aftercare recommendations, what to recommend for the client to maintain it at home, which is absolutely perfect. If I was to add one thing, I'd recommend that they say, next step for the client would be, I'd like to see her back in 8 weeks for a glossing or something like that. That was probably one thing that I would add there.
I really like at the end, and it just says, and a light spray of Weller Performance hairspray to finish.
It's quite whimsical.
Yeah, I quite like that bit.
Amazing. Thank you guys for that. It's really important. We thought it would be really important to show the participants what it is that we're looking for. For you guys that are visual, I hope it's really helped. I know there's a lot in there, but hopefully this has helped visualize everything for you and make it easier to understand what it is that needs to be included. Chris or Eddie, do you have any other insights to what could have made it even better?
No, I think overall, for me, it is super clear. Like Eddie says, I like things that are in bullet points. I would say how I circle everything and tick things off. So overall, I think the information that they've given is really super clear, but I would almost like it even clearer. And especially for assessors, maybe the first time they're getting to know how you work, it'd be good to make it as clear as possible, just so they don't miss anything. And you can then go through and make sure that you've got everything in there. But generally, we chose that project because it's a really best-in-class example of what we would expect from beautifying and celebrating people's natural pigmentless hair.
Exactly, that's one of the best. So if yours doesn't look like that, don't panic. Mine would not have looked like that. Would not be that organized. I suppose if I was to ask one more thing, I'd ask for more of the why. So I'd say getting that person to the 100% would be I chose to use Illumina color because it has light reflection, it's a beautiful, cool finish, and
give me 3 reasons.
Exactly. If there was a little bit more of the why behind it, just to make it that little bit stronger. But like that, you could critique absolutely anybody's work.
Absolutely.
It was a best-in-class example, but always room for improvement, eh?
Indeed. Now we're gonna move on and discuss in the same level of detail the head block challenge. What I will say is that unfortunately for the head block challenge, we do not have a case study. It's about your logic. This project isn't shared between peers either. So we've got slightly less information to give, but it's just as valuable. Chris, do you want to take us away?
Yeah, so Eddie and I have taught this and been with participants through their head block challenge. We're in the studio as well, and they can sometimes get frustrated with us because we don't give them a lot of information. Ultimately, your brief is to get that section of that head block to a 6-stroke 0 in Colliston Perfect, or a 6-stroke, I had to think then, a 6-stroke in Illumina Color. That's your brief. So this is why we're not sharing with you what other participants have done. And I'll talk through and I'll mention the why behind that as well in a moment. But as always, read your brief. There is a little bit more detail in there than I gave you, but all the information that you need is in the classroom and it's in your brief. Don't assume that it needs to showcase 25 different techniques and loads of different color formulas. Approach the section of your head block in the same way that you would approach a client in the salon who's coming in with that particular concern. So also, You can discuss with other people, of course, and we know you're probably going to discuss with other people what you would use, or a formula that someone said was really great and worked for them, or a technique or an application process, or take it off here, or all these kind of things. But remember, it's personal to you, just like everyone's MCE journey is, and it's you that is held accountable at the end of it. So if you say, oh, well, Eddie told me that I should use such and such, then the question would be, well, would you do that in the salon? So remember as well, like, just like every customer that you get in, everyone's hair is unique, so every headlock is unique too. Every hair is completely different. The headlock is challenging you on everything that you would have to tackle in the salon. So we're assessing you on your logical approach, your clean application. Your journey is to be a master of colour, so we want to see that in the way that you execute your work. How clean your trolley is, what technique you use, making sure that you've not got dye on your arm, all these kind of things. You're professional, and we want to see that in your work, and you'll be assessed in that way as well. The best thing, or one of the best tips I can give you, is really look at what a 6-0 looks like from Colours Imperfect. Really analyse it, get a swatch out of the book and stare at it for days before.
Don't work from memory, your memory needs work,
Because what a 6-0 is in our heads, or isn't really what a 6-0, or maybe it is, maybe you're like, you've memorised it, you've got a photographic memory, but really look at it and keep it in your hands and look at it throughout the whole process. Keep it on your trolley, or a 6-stroke in the Lumina colour, and really have an understanding of what it is that you're trying to reach, because you're assessed on the depth, but you're also assessed on the tone. And just like Eddie said, make sure you include all details in your upload. So tell us what you did and why you did it. Yeah, I think those are my best tips for your headlock.
I think it's really important. One of the big things for me is a lot of people strand test, and if your strand test tells you something, it's telling you it, don't go against it just because somebody else went against it, or because you say, oh, well, it should do this. Headlock is not easy. Don't try and blame the head. Work and work and work towards a result. Keep it simple, like Chris said. But you know, if you test something and it doesn't work, then it didn't work.
That piece of hair isn't lying to you.
I had to do the headlock twice.
I passed first time.
I tried. I know I passed twice.
Oh yeah, you had to do it twice, I remember. So we're going to give you 3 areas where people maybe have lost marks on their headlock as well. So the first one is that they did something illogical in their approach. So maybe they did 12 steps and they might have achieved a 6-0, but because they went all the way around the houses in order to achieve that, it's not a logical approach. So we would mark you down for that. The second is the colour choice. Like, again, it links to being logic. So if you're choosing one colour, then we want to know why you're choosing that. And sometimes it gets you a great result, and that's fine, but we want to see why. And tidiness. Like, we really want to see you do something really beautiful. We don't want to see the headlock with all hair dye smeared all over their face, because you wouldn't do that in the salon.
Colour your eyebrows.
You wouldn't approach it, and you wouldn't treat your clients, but we hope you wouldn't treat your clients like that in the salon, so don't treat your headlock in that way as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, guys. That's really important insight on how to tackle the headlock challenge. I am 100% sure that you all still have questions, and that's fine, and we will get to them. But I do want to summarise that the key points from this are to read everything. So read your online test questions, read your briefs, study them carefully. Make sure again that you present everything clearly to standard, and make sure that you present absolutely everything that is required of you. My final tip again, and Chris and Eddie have already said this, but I will say it again, go through the brief, read everything that is required of you, and make a checklist. Make a checklist of absolutely everything you need to include and document and show, and then go through and tick everything off as you go. That will ensure that you get absolutely everything that you need. Again, guys, we will get more questions and we'll answer them at the end, but now let's move on to how to approach your accreditation course. Now, so we're in module 1, and you've submitted your work and you've jumped on your call and your assessor is marking your assessments. We're going to discuss how to make the most out of that feedback and how to approach it with a positive mindset, really. My biggest tip, a way that I deal with feedback anyway, because I do take it to heart, is to you need to create emotional distance. If you dismiss the harsh feedback because it hurts, you risk ignoring advice that's actually really important. And it's going to be super uncomfortable at first. It is for me, it is for Eddie and Chris, it's for everyone when receiving some feedback that potentially doesn't land too well, but it's hugely, hugely important to your progress. And when an assessor is pointing out a blind spot or things you potentially didn't realise that you needed to improve on, you're going to feel slightly vulnerable. You might feel slightly defensive, or you might put yourself down, but really all you need to do is see the feedback for what it is. It's a unique opportunity to get information that will help you become even better than you already are. So I would urge everyone to just take it on board with an open mind and make the most of the situation that you're in. Chris, I'll ask you first. What are your key points for approaching the accreditation call and the feedback that participants will receive?
I think I'm definitely one of those people who's like a natural born warrior. I spend a lot of my time building something up into my head more than it actually is, and then when I do it, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So I think if you are faced with an aspect of failure, try not to allow it to become, like Ida says, like a big barrier in front of you. Just kind of learn from it, accept it, put it to one side, and allow it to be part of your journey, but don't allow it to get in the way of your journey to becoming a master colour expert. And thanks. And I think listening closely to the feedback as well is something that's super important. And I know that seems like a really obvious thing to say, but sometimes when I've given feedback to someone, I can see that they're not listening and they're just waiting to reply, rather than just thinking, okay, fair enough. And of course we want you to reply. You're not supposed to just sit in silence and just take the feedback. We want it. You'll probably find with your mentor, they will ask you questions, and sometimes it can be a bit like, oh, why have they asked me that? Have I done something wrong? That's not the case. It might just be that they want to find out more information. But yeah, listen and listen with a pen so you can write down all your notes.
You bring your pen.
No, pen to your friends.
I suppose for me, it's remembering that it's not about judgment. It's not about, they're not looking at your work going, oh my God, you could be a better hairdresser and this isn't very, very good. You've made it onto Master Colour Expert program. You've gone through the filter system to get this far. You're a good hairdresser. They're trying to make you better. And your accreditors have been chosen for a reason. We've handpicked them to be, leaders in the industry, and they want to make you better. And I don't know whether you have Caroline or Abby or Nicole, whoever it is, they're all amazing hairdressers, and that's what's important. They're not judging you, they're trying to make you better. Because, I work with them, my job is I look after them, I give them feedback, and they're so accepting of it, but everything is a conversation and a chat. Just like Chris said, it's all about conversation.
And they've been through it as well.
And we've all been through it.
I think that's a really important thing to remember, is it comes from a place of, it is personal to their journey. Like they will share with you the things that they found challenging or that they needed help on, in case it resonates with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A big thing as well is, don't think about, oh God, I didn't do well in the head block, or I could have done better on the model. It's done. You've gotten your feedback. You've learned. Let's action that for the next one. Let's move on and let's see what we can do from that. Nobody is going to say, well, I still want to talk about module 1 because it's done. Move on. We've passed, or we've had to resit and now we've passed. Feedback is only good when it's actionable, or it's only valuable when it's actioned, if that makes sense. It's not only valuable if it's actionable, it's valued when it's actioned, is what I'm trying to say. So take your feedback in module 1 and change it in module 2. Don't look back, forward, and action it.
Absolutely.
I say action a lot.
Yeah, you're a man of action,
I think what we're all saying in lots of different ways is that, first of all, as people in general, and especially a Masterclass expert, you need to be open-minded that the feedback that you're going to receive. You need to give yourself the opportunity not to take it personally, step back if you need to, and then go back and dive deeper into the learnings that are available to you, because there are so many. And as Eddie said, what is really important, that in your next module, show the feedback that that you were given, show that you've taken it on board. There is nothing your assessor will want more than to know that you're learning and you're growing throughout this process, and it will only make you better. Now, we could talk about tips and tricks for feedback for days, but I know you've got tons of questions, and we're going to make a start. I'm going to start with some content questions here. I've got one from Nicole Rizzo. I would love to know if there's a full video tutorial on the Weller standards and how to do a colour service, versus an illustration, etc. Guys, what do we have?
Yeah, so we have the Weller standards, and we have some videos that we're going to be releasing in the next kind of month or so that gives a little bit more detail as well. But everything that you have already is the full the full Weller standards. But we're going to be drip feeding you some more information as the course goes on.
Absolutely. I've got a question here from Rudy. Rudy is asking, is the module going to be open until we're finished? The module is open to you for lifetime access, so you can always go back and check in on your learnings, refresh all the information that's there. You have lifetime access to it. It's yours to keep. I've got another question from Christina. What do the colours under additive light, red, green and blue, and subtractive light, red, yellow and blue, mean?
Subtractive. Okay. So, where the question get started, because this is quite.
What is additive and subtractive colour?
Is it what is additive and what is subtractive colour? Is that the question?
The question is, what do the colours under additive light and subtractive light mean?
Okay, so subtractive colour is, I always say, it's like mixing paint, or it's like what we do as hairdressers, is mixing colour. So it's like the more that you put into, say, you have a palette and you have your different colour paint, the more that you mix, the darker and denser and heavier it gets. So subtractive colour is essentially what creates grey. It's over colouring. So one of the big learns for me doing Master Colour Expert was learning not to over mix, not being creative for the sake of creativity. So I used to be one of those hairdressers who would use, 30 grams of 6-stroke 7 and 3 grams of 0-stroke 6-5 and 4 grams of 0-stroke 3-3, and I'd be putting everything in and I'd get brown. That's subtractive colour. It's putting too much in. Additive colour is the opposite. Additive colour is all about light, and it's how, if you think of the sun emits light, and what that means is it has all of these different electromagnetic waves, or all of these different colours, and those waves add light or add colour by hitting off an object. Am I explaining all right, or am I making it really complicated?
You're adding together the colours to create white light, effectively.
Yes, exactly. All
whereas
colours.
subtractive colour is you're adding colours together to create the opposite, which is grey. So one is like pigment and one is light. So you either get darker or white, if that makes sense.
I'm a big nerd. I love it. I could talk about it for hours. It takes 8 minutes for light to travel from the sun to Earth.
But for me, I think on something like this, when we would teach it, we would think, okay, well, so how does that affect me in the salon right now? So like Eddie says, by adding loads of pigments together in your bowl, you're not creating a beautiful, crisp, clear colour result. You're creating a dirty, messy colour result. I've struggled to say this word, similarly, with light, you want to make sure that you have the right kind of light in your salon to showcase the work that you're doing. So if you have too much warm light, then your hair color's gonna look yellowy, or if you have too much cool light, it'll look too flat. So these two things will affect the appearance of how your client perceives their hair color. Well, amongst other things, because there are other things that would affect that too. But you learn about that in the module. I hope that answers your question.
But do keep asking questions like that, guys.
Yeah.
If you have specific questions, fire them to us. We love this.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I've got some questions on the model assessment. One from Yadira. Do we have to speak in our videos?
No, I mean, you can do if you want, but not necessarily.
Absolutely. If you want to, I don't even know if people will turn on the volume, if I'm honest. It's more about looking at how you approach the colour, what your application looks like, what your to look at how you currently do colour to see if there's any kind of support your assessor can give you to make you a little bit better.
Yeah, I think if you're going to speak, there would have to be a reason. So you could maybe speak to say, this is my darker colour and it's this, and maybe this is my... Yeah. Explain something, but don't just be like, oh, this is Julie, she's got lovely shiny hair. Like, that's not telling me anything.
Absolutely. One from Christina here. And sorry, I might not pronounce this correctly, does Instamatic work on grey hair?
Yes, it does. It's oxidative dyes and it's an alkali colour, so it will be more delicate. So if you think about the type of grey hair that you're working on, if it's stronger hair, if it's more resistant hair, and you're just putting something with pure tone, you're not going to get very, very intense results, but it will give an effect or a tonal deposit, yes.
Beautiful, actually.
Really beautiful. My tip is if it's very high percentage white, go slightly higher with your developer. If it's kind of like maybe 50 to 70% white and there's a lot of dark hair, go low with your developer so you don't get overexposure of warmth in the natural.
Fab. I've got a question here from Kayla. Right, let's have a look. When doing a colour application root to ends, starting at the top of the head and working towards the nape, how do you want us to place the colour and keep it clean and neat? Do we place a foil on top?
Do you do the application technique from the crown down to the nape?
So what you do is you take a section from the crown area to the top of the ear. As I take a section, colour through, I tend to lay it to the side where it comes down across here. Not pull it forward, obviously, so we don't want it on their face.
Yeah, but if you feel like you want to place a foil just to protect the hair, that's fine to do because it shows you're being professional and you're doing it for a reason. But it depends if you're just doing the roots or if you're doing literally lengths and ends, then you might want to place a foil underneath.
Fab. I've got a couple more model assessment ones here. One from Ginny. Do we need to video the consultation with our client if speaking isn't necessary?
No, because you're writing it all down. You're detailing it all, so you don't need to capture the client. Some clients as well, they might not want to be videoed as well. They might create a barrier for you. You need to write it, so you don't need to video it.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one from Rudy here. Do we need to strand test our model?
I think, well, do you want to answer that?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's always important that we protect our clients. So things like skin testing and strand testing is super important. Also, it gives you a really good guide of the result that you're going to get. And if you get a bad result, then you haven't done it all over your client's head. If you get a good result, then that would give you a guide as to what to expect, what to use, or what to change. So it can't hurt to do a strand test. You're not going to lose anything from doing it.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to move on to some head block questions now. We can always come back if we have a few more model assessment ones. I've got a question from Rachel here. Should I approach the head block as if it was virgin? Because mannequins are notoriously colour treated.
You strand test and you go by what the strand test tells you. If it works, it has worked. If it hasn't, It hasn't. So I know I'm being very, very vague, and it's very, very annoying, and people get very frustrated with me when it comes to the head block, but it's a challenge. But what I will say is if you test something and it didn't work, don't continue in the same way, because it's still not going to work. Strand test, strand test, strand test. But yes, it's a brilliant question, and it's a notorious head block question. Yes, yeah. It is a head block. It is a mannequin head, but it is human hair. It's just older human hair. So I'm not going to give too much away because I'll get in trouble.
Is it it?
I have Cinnamon that asked the exact same question. Christina asked, are we allowed to strand test? We've answered that too. Let me see, I've got a couple more here. One from Sarah on the model assessment. Do we have to use Weller bowls, capes, brushes, etc.? Yadira also asked, does everything including styling products, capes, etc. need to be Weller?
Great question. It is Wella Master Colour Expert. So it is a colour program. So we strongly, you have to use Wella Colour, including additives such as Wellaplex. So putting another additive into a colour actually can interfere with its performance. It can interfere with how you have to mix it. It can breach manufacturer's guidelines. So Wella Colour, Wella additives, 100% yes. Wella Care products are also designed with colour in mind. They're designed to perform with the technologies that we have in our colour. So you're also asked in your brief to give details on what home care recommendations you're making. When it comes to styling, you're not asked about it. Don't do a write-up on something that you're not asked about. My advice is there, just don't mention it. If you don't have it, we don't expect you to go out and buy it. Same when it comes to capes, gowns, bowls, brushes. If you have them and it looks lovely, amazing, but we don't have a requirement for you to go out and buy bowls and brushes.
Yeah, I think the important thing is when it comes to bowls, brushes and capes and things like that, your clients need to be protected, and you are assessed on that. And if you have, a great brush that you can't live without, then that's fine because you're not being assessed on which brush you use. But just make sure the brush that you do use is going to give you the best effect. So, we've seen people in the past where they've got like one that's like, or just like they've cleaned up a million bowls out with it and it's all like scratchy and doesn't look very good. It's not going to give you the best result. But no, it doesn't need to be a Weller brush, although they are great.
So Wella Colour and Wella Care.
Amazing. I've got a follow-up question here from Christina also. I've used a few different techniques for strand testing in the past. What's the current Weller standard for strand testing?
Use whatever you're planning to use in the same way that you're going to use it. So a lot of people have like tips and tricks or hints and tips to do faster strand testing, but it's not accurate of how it's going to work. So how we recommend you strand test is you do what you're going to do if you're planning to do in the hair. Same amount of time, same developer strength. Is it in a foil or is it out of a foil? Remember years ago, if we didn't want to do a client, we'd do a strand test and we'd put, Blonde Orange 12% on it and put it on top of the kettle. You know what I mean? And we're like, oh, no,
Yeah, like if your colour's going to be exposed to air, then don't seal it in a foil as well. Like, just what would be probably the most accurate way is just, leave the foil open and then you can see the result that you're going to get.
Do what you're planning on doing.
Yeah.
I've got another test question in terms of testing for the model assessment. Do we need to perform an allergy test on our model in this challenge?
All manufacturers' guidelines, when it comes to anything that contains dye, yes. We always recommend that you do a pattern test 48 hours before a colour service, yes.
Fantastic. And that's available in the Weller standards, right?
That's in the Weller standards. It's the manufacturer's guideline across the board.
Fantastic. Okay, a couple of head block questions here also. Kim is asking, would you strand test on the head block or cut a piece out?
And we always recommend we use strand test in the environment that it's going to be in. So I know it's not a human, but we always say when it comes to strand testing, people used to cut hair off people's heads and take it away and strand test, but we always recommend you strand test in that environment. Get them a cup of tea or coffee, let them sit with a magazine for 30 minutes. So I recommend with a head block you do the same thing. Do it in the environment it's going to develop in.
Yeah, it just gives you the habit.
It gives you the habit, but also, like Chris said, if it's in a foil or it's not in a foil, whatever way it will develop, do it in the same way.
Fantastic. I have one more question here, and I know some of you guys have asked other questions too. There are a couple that we will email you about, so if we haven't answered it now, don't worry, we will get back to you. But my last one from Kayla. If we decide to pre-lighten our head block, where do I find the Weller standards for bleach application?
Bleach application is the same as colour application if it's a full head bleach. And if that's what you mean.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, if it's a full head lightening application, it's the exact same way. If it's a corrective scenario, if you're going to work like in threads, you would start at the bottom and work your way up. If it's corrective scenario, nape of the neck upwards.
Amazing. Okay, guys, I want to say a big thank you to all you participants who've tuned in today for all your questions. I want to say thank you again for dealing with the audio issues last time. I hope that this time you've been able to hear us a lot clearer. I do want to remind you that if you do have further technical or support questions, email support on Mastered. We're available. We're here to help you. I also want to remind you that at times, and I feel like I say this all the time, but I will say it again, it's going to feel overwhelming, and there's a lot to do in this module, and there will be a lot of battles to overcome as you progress in module 2 and 3, etc., etc. But it's all part of the process of becoming a master colour expert, or becoming an accredited master colour expert. But you're here for a reason, and we believe that you can do it. Chris and Eddie, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave the participants with today?
You want to go first?
I suppose for me, I hope you guys are telling the world what you're doing and not keeping it a secret. So some people start this program and they're like, oh, I can't wait to put my cert up on the wall, and other people can see it. Don't wait till then. Shout about it now. Bring your family, bring your friends, and most importantly, bring your clients on this journey with you. Tell them what you're learning, tell them what you're covering, tell them what you're doing. They're going to be so interested, and they're going to tell everyone what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And also there's going to be times when you might need to leave. So if they know what you're going through and you're talking to them about it, then that would definitely be helpful. And if there are times of feeling like panicked or overwhelmed, sometimes it's just going back to the goals that you set at the start of the course and think, right, why am I doing this? And it'll help ground you, and it'll help you to remind yourself why you're doing it, and all will be fine. But just stay strong, stay positive, and above all, enjoy it, because it is such an exciting thing to be a part of.
Absolutely. Good luck, everyone, in Module 1. Enjoy the module and enjoy your calls. And have a great day, evening, morning. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.